Hello, everybody. Welcome to this part two of State of the Condo Nation in the GTA and COVID-19, how it affected our real estate market. I am Costas Kivelos. For those of you tuning in the first time and missing the first one, that's okay. We have a lot to talk about today, a little background about myself for those of you turning in for the first time and may not know me. My name is Costas Kivelos, as I just said. I work for Right at Home Realty. We have over 5,200 agents, and my role there essentially is mentor to other agents to teach them about pre-construction. And what I do for my clients is I teach them how to make money. Instead of being a real estate agent, essentially, I'm a real estate investment consultant, and that's why people come to me so we can invest. Over 80% of all pre-construction units are purchased by investors. So although there's a small 20% segment of the market, the vast majority is people looking to make money. So what we're going to talk about today is basically we're going to talk about what has happened after the year of COVID. 2020 was a unique year, to put it lightly. We had a lot of curveballs thrown at us. The world economy was upside down. People were scared for their health, and governments did not know what to do. There was a lot of back and forth, mask, not to mask, lockdown, not to lockdown. Pretty much we've been jumping on all over, across, back and forth on both sides of the fence. But now that we enter 2021 with a vaccine being rolled out, and pretty much everyone knows now that it's not the end of the world, it's not an apocalyptic end to everything that we know, and our real estate market has stayed strong. So what I'm going to explain to you is why, and what is the forecast for what is going to happen in 2021, how it ties into what I said back on April 3rd of 2020. And we are going to see some great options on how you can make some money in our pre-construction market, the #1 pre-construction market on the planet. In Toronto, we've sold more units than any other city in the globe for the past 3 years, and we're going to continue to do so. So let's begin. So an overview over today's presentation is the points of discussion: Toronto and the GTA market outlook after the year of COVID, intro into pre-con and pre-sale condos. What is a platinum agent and why use one? That is what I am. Why invest in pre-con? That's a big thing. You need to know, why are you going to go pre-con over resale all day long? Carrying costs versus rent. And then we're going to get into 4 projects. 3 I have here to show you, and 1 I'm going to talk about. And it is a multi-phase project and probably one of my top 5 faves in the city at any given time, from 2 years ago up until 3 years after today, when it'll be finally finished. So we have a lot to talk about today, and let's begin. The market outlook after the year of COVID. Okay, so what happened was we had a record first couple of months in the start of Q1 in 2020. We saw the most pre-con sales we had seen in years for the months of January and February. An example was 55 Mercer, 400 units signed in 8 days. Those are record numbers. What happened in March? Well, the city went on a lockdown. And what happened to our pre-construction market was it was essentially frozen. So when it froze, nothing was happening. There were no sales. Everything was being pushed up. So the pipeline we had last year was phenomenal, one of the best we've ever seen. But what happened was when the lockdown happened, you couldn't go into sales centers. Everybody was evolving. We had to get ready and quickly change. And because our pre-construction market was so strong, and it is the best on the planet, we quickly converted and became a digital presence and did everything digitally. So instead of physically walking into sales centers, we started bringing people and doing everything virtually. And that was fantastic, because every time the lockdown lifted, we had record sales. So it was really 2020 for pre-construction was the year of the roller coaster. We had highs and we had lows. When it was high, productivity was at record levels. When it was frozen, it was at 0. Now, speaking from our own experience here at First Access Condos, we worked 66% of the time compared to 2019, but our productivity and total volume was only down 12%. So if you do a correlation between output of work and productivity, sale of units, we had a record year. And what we forecast for 2021, is even greater numbers. Now, let me explain why we're going to see greater numbers. But before we explain why we're going to see greater, let's talk about what happened in 2020. 2020 saw 1/5 of total immigration come to the city. Now, people think there was no immigration. There was still immigration happening, but 1/5. So we had seen over the course of the last 3 years, numbers averaging around 100,000 people coming to Toronto proper and around 140 to 150 coming to the greater metropolitan area. We were number one as city for new immigration in North America, and again, number one for greater metropolitan area. Now, we predicted that that's going to continue once the COVID restrictions are lifted and once we see a vaccine rollout. And that is the times that we are currently living in. And you're going to hear a lot of people talk about how the condo market crashed and how rents tanked and prices are in the toilet. And that is not true. There is a drop in rent, but when you talk about a drop in rent, you have to understand this is temporary. And why is it temporary? Well, think about it this way. If you think of COVID as being a trident, remember Neptune's spear from mythology, the 3-prong, okay? It's like a pitchfork with an extra prong. Well, think about COVID being that. So using that as a comparison, on the one prong, on the one tip, we got stabbed with 1/5 of total immigration. Second tip, we got stabbed with 0 foreign students. Now, you might ask yourself, how many foreign students do we have in Toronto? Well, to put it in perspective, U of T alone has 23,000 every year. When you add the other universities and colleges, we're up to about 45,000 foreign students a year. Those are 45,000 potential renters that were eliminated from the rental pool. And the third and final blow to our rental market was no tourism. Now, you might say tourism doesn't affect rentals, but it does. It's a domino effect. What happens is when you don't have tourists, the Airbnbs are empty. The Airbnb investors panic, and what they do is they take their Airbnb units and flood the rental pool. So that is what we had. We had a 3-prong attack on our rental market, and what happened was we saw drops in rental rates of 10 to about 20%. Now, this is temporary. And why is it temporary? Because these students will be back by September, okay? Now, tourism will start coming back as well. And another thing is the Trudeau Liberal government announced to make up for the loss in immigration, they've increased their numbers close to 400,000 new immigrants a year, as opposed to 300,000 to make up the difference. 60% of those people will be coming through the investment economic stream, which means they'll be coming with a lot of money and they'll be looking to invest, and the bulk of them will be coming to Toronto. So that's close to 240,000 people a year. And the ones that bring enough and get to choose where they want to go, the vast majority are going to come to the center of the Canadian real estate universe, which is, you got it, Toronto and the greater metropolitan area, the GTA. Now, COVID-19 vaccine has started to roll out. Now, although there's been some delays and hiccups here in the city and locally, an example was we had a COVID-19 vaccination center set up at the Metro Toronto Convention Center, which only lasted a couple days and then appointments got canceled. Now, there's going to be hiccups and there's going to be roadblocks and there's going to be hurdles that we need to overcome. And I'm not going to get into it and give my opinion as much as I'd want on how it's been pretty much a disaster, how everything's being handled up from the federal level to the provincial level to the municipal level now. But we're kind of stuck in it, and we got to do with what we got to act and just basically do what we can, and whatever we're told, we got to follow. So that's what we're going to do. But although our vaccine rollout system is really delayed and slow, other countries that supply us our immigrants are much more efficient at doing things than we are. So we don't have to worry about our lack of productivity and efficiency affecting our immigrants, because they will be coming from countries that will inoculate 1 million people per day or 1 million a week. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that. So what we're going to see is we're going to see the fundamentals of our market, what makes it strong, immigration, which leads to supply and demand issues, start up again. Now, that being said, we've been talking about pre-con, but what we should comment on is our resale market is exploding. It is increasing at record levels, okay? Now, what happens is what we've seen historically, and if you register and you get my 8 Wellesley brochure, you're gonna see a great chart which shows when resale low-rise increases, okay? And the delta, the difference between the two parts of the helix, one is going to be low rise and one is going to be high rise. When that increases, eventually it curves back and started to meet again. And that's what we had seen in 2017, where condo started elevating and low rise started going down. I think we're at the peak of this gap between them, and it's going to start reaching up. So this, in fact, is going to be the year of the condo and a great time to invest. Intro to pre-con, we're getting right into it now. Why purchase pre-construction? Well, we purchase pre-construction 80% of us to make money. And how is the process different from resale? Well, see, in resale, what you do is you buy something, you put your down payment, you get a mortgage, immediately you have to start renting it out, covering the carrying costs, being a landlord. And being a landlord's not glamorous, and nobody really makes money from 1 or 2 properties, okay? So what happens is people think that if we buy pre-construction, we're not really making any money until it rents out 4 or 5 years from now. That's not true. Renting it out is not when you make your money. The bulk of your appreciation, your capital appreciation, which is why we do this, growth on your equity of a product, okay, that happens during the construction phase. And that's when we want to make our money. We want to get in first. That's why we're called first access condos. And we want to buy when price is the lowest. And what you're going to see is you're going to see jumps during the different stages of sales and price. So if you buy first, we've seen projects increase price over a weekend. You could have on paper made $25,000 in a few days. And that's how you make your money. You make your money on the increase in the value of the product which you purchased, the unit, before it's even built. By the time it's built, then you're going to have to accrue and cover carrying costs. You're still making money because the height of the appreciation curves last till about year 4 or 5, but then you have carrying costs associated with it. So you're actually having to work. And the key to an investment is to work the least and make the most. Now, I covered how you make money from it. You make it from your capital appreciation. And how do you use your original purchase price to buy new units? That is called leveraging. And that is what I teach people how to do, and it's pretty simple. And the way you do it is, if you bought a unit now, by the time it's built, it will have increased in value given, say, by X. Now, X is going to be enough, given statistically what we've seen over the course of the past 5 years, that you will be able to refinance and pull out equity. And that equity should cover, based on what we've seen historically, another down payment on a new condo. So every 5 to 6 years, one condo purchase can beget a second condo purchase with no or little new down payment. And that is how you build a portfolio. I call it a real estate portfolio for the everyday man or woman, okay? And that's what we want to do here at First Access. We want you to build a real estate portfolio as simple and as easy as possible. And we try to simplify it for you because it is simple. Have they built and pre-sold too many condos in Toronto? Absolutely not. This is the largest hurdle that I have to overcome on a regular basis, where ignorant people that don't know stats say that we have too many condos. We have a huge housing crisis in the city. And that is evident by the fact that our market didn't crash, okay? We are going to need as much as we can and then some. And this is coming from big think tanks like CMHC, RBC, okay? Back in 2019, RBC said we were short 24,000 units per year. CMHC said we were short 32,000. Take the number in the middle, that's 28,000 units short. In perspective, a 50-story tower might only be 500 units. So if you're short 28,000, do the math. We're going to need a lot of buildings to cover it, and we don't have the land. State of the market. I'm extremely bullish on this, extremely bullish. And the reason is because our fundamentals are strong. We're not a speculation-based market, contrary to what everybody who doesn't know is going to tell you. Everybody has an opinion, and we all know what opinions are like, okay? You should listen to the experts on this, and you shouldn't watch the mainstream media. The mainstream media sensationalizes the news, and I'm not going to get in conspiracy theories, but I'm going to talk about real estate. You want your advice, ask someone who sells condos, whose boots are on the ground, whose fingers on the pulse, who knows exactly what's happening with the market, and ask somebody who puts their money where their mouth is and invests, okay? We at First Access Condo think the best time to buy a pre-con is now. And the reason is, if you wait, prices will go up. Will pre-sale, pre-construction prices come down? Absolutely not. Land is not getting any cheaper to purchase, and construction costs have actually increased due to COVID, due to supply chains being limited, due to it's harder to import things across the border, due to working parameters being, restrictions being put on how many people can work and proximity workers can be with each other, et cetera, et cetera. So prices are not coming down. What is a platinum agent? Now, this is a great time for me to make an introduction about something, and you guys here watching this webinar, I'll be the first to know. Last week, I was lucky enough to be on Everyday Investor with Rav Tour, Sunday at 10:30 a.m. on CHCH. I was the guest speaker. What a couple of my friends told me was, you were the guest know-it-all. I found that term kind of funny. I started laughing. But what I've decided to do, and there's been a couple of requests for this over the past few years, we finally decided and started to produce our own TV show. So First Access Condos will be bringing you Condo Investing with Costas. Costas will be bringing insider information to the everyday investor every Sunday on CHCH, which is shown across Southern Ontario at 10 a.m. This will be starting on February 28th, and we'll be getting into everything we talk about today more in depth. We're going to have 4 to 6 educational episodes. We're going to have a series of on-site episodes with developers on projects that we have handpicked as your best investment opportunities for 2021. So tune in. We're going to be all over YouTube after. Same with this webinar. If you can't stay for the whole duration, it'll also be on our YouTube channel, First Access Condos. Okay, so we're very excited about that, and we can't wait to bring our message to the masses so we can continue to help hundreds of people per year with their investment opportunities. Now, let's get back to the webinar. What is a platinum agent? You might hear real estate salesperson calling themselves platinums or VVIPs. What is this? So in 2019, there were over 52,000 registered realtors in the city of Toronto. They don't have access to this project. So your realtor that's been with you for 20 years, he probably most likely doesn't have access to these projects. Only 100 of us do. Now you can do the percentage, but that's close to the 0.2 percentile, okay? So only about 100 people total have first round access. And again, remember, why did I say to first round access? First round access and the price is the lowest. So each project doesn't have all 100. They have between 10 and 30. So there's really only between 10 and 30 agents that can get you in. So make sure you're talking to the right person, okay? Now, the name of my business is First Access Condos because I always emphasize buy in the first round. You must invest in the first or no later than the second round unless you are living there. And if you're not living there, you want to make sure you're in those first rounds. And the reason being is, like I said, price increases. So if you're with someone who's not platinum and you think you got a good deal, imagine how you feel when the project's built and you go to sell your unit and the exact same unit on the floor below is selling for 40, 50,000 more. And you're wondering, how can they do that? They're not making any money. But in fact, they might be making more money than you. You don't want to be stuck in that predicament. Buy first. Contact us at First Access Condos and we'll get you in. Okay, we have a question from Julio Mercado. He said pre-con prices are so high that the room for appreciation is minimal or nothing. Is that statement right? Absolutely not. That's incorrect. You're going to see great increases in our real estate market. What I like to say is that Toronto is a teenager, okay? And the other great cities in the world like Hong Kong, London, Singapore, places like that, Shanghai, New York, Manhattan especially, they're adults. We have been growing over the course of the last 10 years, and we can see this in our real estate prices and our immigration numbers. Those cities' real estate prices are where they are because of population density, and we are achieving that. Now, because of green belts and the lake and so forth, Toronto is essentially an island. Although we're surrounded by land, we're not surrounded by buildable land. And our development is constrained by this. So we are like an island. And another reason we are like an island is because of traffic congestion. If we get another 150, and I predict in the first full year of immigration post this COVID hysteria, we are going to see 150 to 200,000 people a year. Now, our infrastructure is not built for this. Our highways aren't built for this. Our horrible subway system and archaic subway system is not built for this. I live in Midtown. This is where we're coming to you live, and we're still waiting on the Eglinton subway to be built, and it's way behind schedule. Now, we are not going to be able to keep up with the demand for transit and transportation, and people are going to want to live close to their work. Now, there's also a mass exodus, which is not a mass exodus. I used a media term, which is false. There are also some people which are making the serious mistake of getting out of the city to go live in the suburbs because fear of COVID. All I ask for people watching this, do your own research before you make a decision like that, because traffic is going to get worse and worse. And unless you're retired and you need to come back to the city, and let me tell you, not everybody's going to be working for home forever. Okay, if you have to come back into the city, talk to people who made the mistake in the 90s when we did have an exodus to the suburbs, and their commute times originally were 30 minutes. But fast forward 20 years or 15 years, their commute times have tripled, and they can't even buy back in the core because their small house in the city or condo in the city is worth more than their house in the suburbs. Now, let's get into the meat and potatoes. Why invest in pre-con? We invest for capital appreciation. Now, return on our investment, ROI, that's an abbreviation that you're always going to hear about in real estate. Now, let's use an example of one of my favorites. This building started selling in 2016, 2017, 150 Redpath, and it's right here in Midtown. And one of the reasons for the Midtown explosion was that it was going to become the secondary center of Toronto because it was going to have intersecting subway lines. So it was going to be the new Yonge and Bloor. Now, that's going to happen. Like I said, it's just delayed due to the ridiculous amount of time it takes us to complete any infrastructure projects, but it's happening. Now, 150 Redpath, back in November 2015, it's actually 2016, sorry, 600 square feet, 1+ den, we're at a purchase price of $372,000 at a PSF price per square foot of $620. Initial down payment, 20%. It is always 20%. If your down payment is less than 20%, you are not getting a deal. Prices have increased, more than 80% units are sold, and that is not when you want to buy as an investor. So if it's not 20%, call me. Even if I'm not selling the project and you guys aren't using me, I will dig into it and I will tell you the truth. Okay. So the initial down payment of 20% was $74,400. Current resale in the area now is hovering around $1,050 to $1,100 per square foot. So your 600 square foot 1+ den at Redpath has a current value of about $630,000. Therefore, your 630K minus 372 equals 258. That is, one second, I'm blocking this, a 374% gross return on your initial investment of $74,000. That is a fantastic return. Now, when you factor in closing costs, land transfer tax, and all the taxes that you have to pay here in the city, we've been averaging returns, net returns from about 260 to about 280 for condos that were bought 4 or 5 years ago and are getting occupancy and registration now. That is a fantastic return, and I'd like to put that up against anything. Carrying costs versus rent. People are saying that our rents were so high that it's impossible to make money. And my answer to this question is, why do you really need to make money from rent? How much are you going to really make? Are you going to make a couple $100? If you have enough money to invest in this, a couple $100 realistically now is not going to end your life or make your life any better. Okay. So nobody became rich from being a landlord. Get that through your head. And I don't know what your accounting is like and what your financial situation is like with the CRA, but usually when you have enough money to put money down on these things, suffering a small loss in some part of your portfolio might actually benefit you. So it might not be a bad thing to lose a little bit of money every month. And those cities that I mentioned earlier, okay, a few minutes ago, those cities that are adults in the real estate market, those cities actually are cash flow negative in terms of rent on almost all their units. Now let's get into this. So I basically covered why it's okay to lose money every month. It is hard to wrap your head around it, but wrap your head around it. Do not lose investment opportunities and lose hundreds of thousands in profit because you're nickel and diming yourself over a couple $100s every month. That is ridiculous, okay? And that is the biggest misconception and myth when it comes to investing in real estate, especially in pre-con. A purchase price of about $550,000 with a down payment of $110,000 for a one-bedroom. That's in about the low to mid 1200s per square foot. And what I did to get this price right now for a one-bed, I took last year's basically a number right in the middle. So we had units on the outskirts around $1,000 a square foot. We had units around $1,500 in the core, right smack in the center. And I came in the middle. So we got a one bed, say about 450 some square feet, 550K, 20 down, 110. Mortgage would be about 440K, costing about $1,750 a month. Maintenance fees are usually around 65 cents per interior square foot. So we're around $390. Property taxes, the builder likes to quote 1% of purchase price. It is actually significantly lower and comes out to about 0.6. But what they like to do is give themselves a little bit of buffer. And if you pay a little more on the estimate, you get the money back. Insurance, $50 a month, water bill, $20 a month. Total expenses, approximately $2,670 a month. Okay, with current market rent at approximately $2,200. But this is current market rent. You don't have a product now to rent out. You're going to have a product in 4 to 5 years. Using 4 years in the future and speculating a 7% yearly increase in rent, it becomes $2,900, from $2,670. Okay. So it's $200, so it's $220 a month times 12 is you're getting positive cash flow from your rental revenue, rental stream of about $2,640. Now it's not a lot of money, and I said you're not going to become rich from it. And even if you lost $200 a month, it might actually benefit you. Now I have some questions coming up here. Okay, did I become a VIP agent by building relationships with builders? Relationships are great, but we're in a business where you need to make money to get people to recognize you. So you can go knock on as many doors and shake hands, but if you can't sell and you can't continually produce, no one's going to remember you. So you become a platinum agent by basically kicking ass in real estate and representing by selling a lot of units. I got another question, I'll answer it. 1 second for me to read it. Okay, here's a great question from a gentleman named Philip. He wants me to talk about the risk of buildings not being able to complete and the opportunity cost of capital tied down for a few years. You want to minimize risk, go with a reputable developer. The number one reasons for projects not being built are this. Some developers, very few, and none of the ones for the projects I sell, put the cart before the horse. And what they do is they launch their sales and start selling where they're nowhere near getting final approval to break ground. Okay, so what they do is they sell out, they hit their quota, they're ready to go, but they still have to go to the city. And anybody that's interacted with any government agency in their life knows that there are no timelines with the government and they don't adhere to them. So you could think you're going to be there for 3 months and if you're there for 2 years. Now, how does it affect a developer? The development charges, most people don't know, usually equate to about 1/5 of purchase price. So 1/5 of the condo here that we said was $550,000, 1/5, $110,000 goes directly to government for fee, taxes, levies, and fees. Now, what happens is if I come in and sign a contract with you saying that you're capping my development charges at X, and you think you're going to start building in 6 months, but you're delayed at city for 2 years, guess what? The city has increased development charges on the developer 4 to 6 times by then. So there might not be enough fiscal opportunity for them to continue on with the project. So that's what you want to ensure. You want to make sure the developer is reputable. Ask someone like me that works with most of them, and I'll give you the inside scoop. Okay? Let me answer some more questions. You want first access to your pre-con for your clients, you should contact someone like me. It is very difficult for someone like you. And what you're going to have to do, if you're going to do it on your own, you're going to get your clients in late, and 4 to 5 years from now, they'll probably lose you, drop you as a realtor. Renting out, this is a great question. Renting out during interim occupancy, does it affect the entitlement to the HST rebate? If you don't own or occupy it, you void the rebate. If you rent it out, you pay the $24,000. It is $24,000 in HST, no matter if it's $500,000 unit or a $5 million unit. So the $24K is the rebate amount. If you Don't owner occupy it. You pay simple. Don't owner occupy, pay the 24K. If you rent it out and not leave it empty, you can apply for a rebate and get your 24K back. It is a very seamless and the easiest transaction ever with the CRA, but hire somebody who specializes in this. Don't get your accountant or your lawyer to do it. I have someone that I work closely with. He does my own stuff. Message me, email me, info@firstaccesscondos.com. I'd love to share his info. Great guy. It is very non-expensive as well. Okay, you get the 24K back plus a small amount of interest. Okay, I've also answered the how to get into VIP with builders. Now, for those people, the agents, we have agents and clients watching this. I'm going to tell you guys something. It is near impossible to get in now with developers and a lot of developers. And the reason is there's a lot of competition. The best thing for you to do is do the best thing for your client. And there's nothing that gets my goat more than greedy realtors, okay? Find a realtor you like to work with. It doesn't have to be me, okay? It can be somebody else, and get your clients the best deal. To sell a unit on your own at a project, you will be let in stage 3 or 4, and you will be doing a disservice to your client. Don't do that. You will lose your clients in the future. Build a business that lasts a lifetime, not be a one-hit wonder. Now, let's move on. I have a lineup of projects that are so great that it almost makes me put on some 90s hip hop and start dancing and getting into it because this is exciting. We have 4 projects that we're going to talk about today, very varying in price per square foot. We're going to start off at the geographic center of Toronto, 8 Wellesley residences at Yonge by the #1 developer in units sold over the last 3 years, CentreCourt, partnering up with Bazis. Now, why do I like this project so much? Well, think about it this way. It is located at Yonge and Wellesley. It is walking distance to 3 subways. And the number one reason you should follow, the #1 rule or law of condo investing is be near transit. This is near 3 subways within walking distance. Yonge Line, University Line, and the Bloor Danforth Line. You can access any of those on foot. You can walk to Hospital Alley, you can walk to the Financial District, you can walk to UFT, you can walk to Ryerson, and you can walk to Yorkville. So essentially, there's no better address. But people will say, what about Yorkville addresses? Yorkville addresses are great, but here you're going to be paying an average of $1,450 per square foot is my estimate. And at Yorkville, you'll be paying $1,750 to $1,800. That is a huge delta between the two numbers, and you will never make anywhere near that difference in rent to service your debt load. You'll be significantly cash flow negative. Significantly cash flow negative is not good. I said being slightly is okay. So let's talk about this project. It's being designed by world-renowned IBI Group. Okay, it's at 8 Wellesley, which is it's literally meters just west of Yonge. It's 55 stories, almost 600 units, and we have the traditional unit split of studios to 3 beds. I have a breakdown of the units. There's 119 parking spaces, expected to be around $90,000 for a parking spot, and only offered to 2s or 3s. We have 600 bicycle spaces because we're moving away from the car in the core, and there's over 5,000 square feet of ground floor retail. CentreCourt builds some of the best amenities in the business and a fantastic product. And remember, CentreCourt, they're the only developer that does not have an interim occupancy period. When you get your keys, you've closed and registered. So no phantom mortgage, you start paying off right away. Now, this is basically what I talked about. It has 100, a perfect transit score, 99 walk score, which I think is 100, and a 96 bike score. So basically, if you were at a slot machine, this would be blazing 7s right here. Okay, ding, 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 the machine would go me off and you'd be winning the jackpot because it doesn't get any better than this. Here's some dates to know. 8 Wellesley is launching early 2021. Now, the reason we don't have a hard date, we don't have hard dates in concrete for anything this year, and the pipeline is a little convoluted, it's not clear, and that's because we don't know when the lockdowns are going to lift it. So my forecast is that when the most recent lockdown is lifted, the one we're experiencing right now, okay, a week or 2 after, probably a week, this is coming to market. Now, if you register on my site, I have everything here in an info email, and I also have my estimate on pricing. Now, I can't tell you why my estimate's going to be really accurate, but when I tell you, use that and compare it to the unit, and you won't be disappointed, and your clients will be on board. Just trust me on that, okay? My pricing estimate is going to be accurate. Send in your worksheet and submit it prior to the start of sales. What we at First Access like to do is we like to contact developers a week before the start of sales and tell them what we need. And the reason is we want to get the units we need already in our allocation, and we want to have additional units put aside ready for us to take. Okay, so we want everybody to get what they want, and we produce and sell big numbers at Center Court, and we're going to probably have the most sales of the year at this project. So it doesn't mean that we won't be able to accommodate you, but if you do get it in early, I can guarantee we'll get you a unit. Don't wait till second round. Remember what I said. Remember what the gentleman that said that projects, why do they not get fulfilled and why do they get canceled? This project is fully zoned. So the only thing they're waiting is when they hit their sales, they go back, they get a stamp on their building permit, and they start construction. Okay, now I have a question. Are parking spaces generally good investment? I have a rule of thumb. If you're buying a 2-bed, consider a spot. If you're buying smaller, don't. And if you're buying larger, yes. So if you're 2 and larger, get a parking spot. If you're smaller than a 2-bed, don't do it. People traditionally in the downtown core have deviated away from the car and are taking transit and Uber and ride sharing and stuff like that, or Euro lifestyle. They walk everywhere. And that's what we're seeing in the city because of traffic congestion. I'm stuck in traffic downtown a lot of times, not now because it's decreased, but back when we were living a normal life, which we will be soon enough, and people were outpacing me using Ankle Express, okay? So you don't need a spot unless your 2 bedrooms are larger. Parking is always reserved for 2 bedrooms and larger, no matter what project in the core. The only time you're getting a parking spot for a 1 bedroom off the hop is if you're investing in the suburbs, okay? Pricing estimates, studios. Studios are going to start, there's 2 studios, and this is all in the typical key plate. That is a key plate is a floor plan of an entire floor, and I have that for you. Studios in the mid 500s, 1 beds. So there's 2 studios. One will be lower 500s, one's going to be closer to 6. It's all based on price per square foot. Studios always have the highest price per square foot in any project. Second on the ladder of more expensive PSFs are 1 beds. These will be starting mid to high 600s. Okay. Then we have 2 1+ dens. One will be around 750, and the other one with 2 baths, which is a 2 bedroom alternative. If the extra 120,000 might be just teetering you over the edge, think of the 1+ den with 2 baths. Great 2 bedroom alternative, can be marketed and leased out as one. Okay. That's going to be around 900. Now our 2 beds here, they're gems. They're all corner units. Okay. Now they're going to be starting at around $1 million, and we have a beautiful northeast 3-bed, which is going to be around 1.1. Again, estimated, but these are goods to use. Visitor parking is minimal, if any, and it's usually pay for parking in condos downtown. A gentleman asked me about visitor parking. Okay. The vast majority of people visiting these buildings won't drive, or they have street parking, and downtown still has parking lots. Don't ever not buy a building because it doesn't have visitor parking. If someone uses that in their decision-making process, they're going to be left waiting quite a while to find a project to invest in. So we're going to move along. We've talked about 8 Wellesley, basically talked about the location, the pricing. This is a great project. And again, if you need this information, reach out to me, info@firstaccesscondos.com. My team would be happy to send this to you. This project is going to be launching, I like to say right after Lunar New Year, which is on February 12th. And that's probably the time it's going to come out. So you have a good few weeks now to look at the plans, call me, contact me, let me answer your questions, get in that worksheet, and let me guarantee a unit for you. So we're going to move ahead. But actually, let me talk about this. This is a great little stat that Jason Lamb, VP of Sales and Marketing at Center Court, and myself used in our webinar that we co-hosted. And there's been, over the past 5 years, there's been 579 launches in the Greater Toronto area. Only 12 of those, okay, were along Yonge Street. That's 1 in 48 condo launches are along Yonge Street. Let's not forget that all projects have assignment clauses, Deepak, not just this one, all of them, and the vast majority offer free or discounted assignment, okay? So assume the project has an assignment clause as opposed to not assuming it, and then contact me and I'll give you the yes or no. But I would say 99% of assignment clauses now. But assignments are the most misunderstood thing in real estate. Most agents don't understand it. So contact me directly and let me explain it. I'm going to do a whole episode on assignments on our new show, Condo Investing with Costas, okay, starting February 28th, 10 a.m. on CHCH, a whole episode on it, and that'll answer everything from sun up to sundown. Okay, so back to this. 1 in 48 condo launches were along the young street and the young subway line. So because of that, most people forgot, and it was a distant memory because we live in a fast-paced world, they forgot about Yonge Street. So remember Eminem said the world forgot about Dre? Everybody forgot about Yonge. Reality, Yonge is where you want to invest. The reason we don't see launches is because it's too expensive for most developers. They don't have the pockets and they really don't have the nerve to make such a big move on Yonge. But Center Court is a big boy on their block. They're probably the biggest. So they do stuff like this, okay? And that's why they have the best address in the city. And I'm not saying this because I love Center Court. I love Center Court because they invest and they build where they should build. So I love them actually because they do it right. And they have the financial backing behind them. And this is going to be the #1 most desirable launch, in my opinion, for the past couple years and the couple years to come, because there is not enough land and it's too expensive to build. So I'm telling you again, if there's a pick that I can make in a prediction of the most insulated and safest investment in the city for the next year and the year before us, right now it's going to be a Wellesley. And the only thing is, if you can afford it, go for it. If not, we have great other alternatives. Now we're going to go on to LeftBank, okay? This is a great map which shows you the walking distance to 3 subway lines, easy access, or we're going to skip ahead. All this is available, walking to universities, walking to the Mars Discovery Center and some of the think tanks of our country, okay? There is the key plate. This is what I was telling you. This is what we have for you guys. Insider info. That's what we provide. We have this key plate. This is a typical floor plan of an entire floor running the height of the tower. So over 90% of all suites are the ones you see here. A few units in this building have balcony. Don't be discouraged. This is an investment, okay? The larger cities across the planet, a lot of the buildings don't have balconies. Don't use it to sway your condo investment strategy. Focus on location, okay? Now let's go to LeftBank. Oh, here's the video. This is an hour-long webinar. If you guys want to become an expert on our real estate market, what's happening with COVID, how we're bouncing back, how we're proceeding, and 8 Wellesley, watch this. It's about an hour long, I must warn you. So if the kids are doing some online learning and you don't have to be there, you might want to plug in your own headphones and watch it. So now let's go to LeftBank. LeftBank by Broccolini. Broccolini is one of Canada's premier construction companies. They've been around, a family business for decades. And they got into the condo building, condo developing aspect of the economy a couple years ago. They have built 3 buildings in Toronto as the contractor, okay, as the actual construction team. And now with River and Fifth, which is the sister building and exactly next door to LeftBank, they are getting into developing in Toronto. Now, LeftBank is the sister building to the highly successful launch of River and Fifth. It is on the southeast corner of River and Dundas, right smack between the Mercedes-Benz and the Audi dealerships, okay? Now, River is closer to the Don Valley. This one's right west of it and is closer to River. This is a fantastic area that's seen an exciting transformation over the past few years in the redevelopment of the area called Riverfront. Okay, this is going to be basically the new hotspots and hubs to live. It was the former Regent Park, which had a lot of land. Developers started snatching it up. There's not going to be a low-income housing aspect to this building, so it's not similar to what's in Regent Park proper. This is all investor and owned suites. Okay, and we are estimating this at about 1,300 a square foot. We wrote 1,350, but I think it'll be closer to 13. So you have about a difference of about $150 a square foot. That's a significant difference on 500 square feet at 75,000. Okay, between Wellesley and between here. So this is a great alternative for, it might be a little too expensive to get into Wellesley. Maybe it's your first time investment. Maybe you have some other things happening, but this is a great viable alternative for you. Okay, it's going to be 385 units, 34 stories. It is going to launch in March. That's what we're estimating. Okay, all these things were supposed to launch last year and were delayed due to obvious COVID delays, and nobody wants to launch during lockdown. Most of these builds will be 4-year builds. Like I said, Center Court is an excellent developer. Broccolini is equally excellent. Their construction is second to none. And when these guys give a timeline, they meet it. So what basically I'm going to do in this part of it, it talks about the new area and the transformation of Toronto and how Broccolini, they wanted to be on the forefront and pick an area when they were scouting out sites. They wanted to pick an area that they were going to basically build up and be part of the growth. And they chose the River and Dundas neighborhood. Now, people go in that area and they're like, what's happening around there? And remember, I say follow transit. Now, some people that aren't really up to date on what's happening in the city, we are getting an Ontario Relief subway line. And the hub, it's going to be the second largest transit hub in the city, all just second, slightly behind Union. Excuse me. This is going to be at East Harbor. East Harbor is going to be located at the foot of the Don Valley, on the east side of the Don Valley, on the old Unilever grounds. Now, this is going to be the largest commercial construction project in North America. So what that means is a 15-minute walk from LeftBank, you not only have 70,000 full-time jobs daily working there that are ready to rent out your unit, you also have a subway line, the Ontario Relief Line, which can quickly connect you to downtown or take you north. Okay, so you're close to transit, you have a renter pool of almost 70,000 potential renters, a 15-minute walk away. Fantastic opportunity. And that's what Broccolini did. They scouted out right and they found an area that was going to develop, it was going to explode, it was going to boom, and they picked that to build their 2 towers and basically present their flagships to the city of Toronto. Now here's a map which shows transit. Okay, and right here, okay, let me see. Actually, I was going to draw it, but that's beyond my level of technical expertise. But if you look in the bottom right corner in the yellow, that's East Harbor. Okay, and that is being built by Cadillac Fairview. Everybody knows who they are. They have most of the premier shopping centers, and they own some of the most prime commercial real estate in our country. They're heading this project. It is going to be fantastic. And like I said, it's the largest commercial construction project in North America. Okay, the construction has started on that. It's going to be home to, like I said, the Ontario Relief subway line, and it is a short walk, 15 minutes. So we have that fundamental of condo investing ready. This page here talks about some travel times. We have a 3-minute walk to the Dundas streetcar. We have a 6-minute walk to the Queen Street streetcar. We have 6-minute walk to the 506 bus that takes you to College Subway and runs along Line 1, Yonge and University. And then we're 15 minutes from East Harbor. I can't stop talking about East Harbor enough because it's very hard to wrap around your head around the magnitude of how this is going to change that area. It is basically building up a mini commercial, it's not even mini, it's a commercial hub powerhouse that's going to have 70,000 people working. It's hard to imagine how many people that are, but it's like building a second financial district. Okay, so think about it that way, and that's what's happening. So I'm not going to really get into rents because rents are appreciating, and as soon as this is over, although we have this slight temporary decrease, they're going to start appreciating based on immigration at the numbers we were seeing before. So we're going to talk about East Harbor a little bit more, okay, and LeftBank and how they are synergistic with doing the two of them. Okay, let's look at this here. Near East Harbor, nearly 12 million square feet of commercial and retail space. It's going to bring 70,000 jobs to Lower East Side. To accommodate 70,000 jobs, 50 buildings the size and density of LeftBank with 2.42 people per household would have to be built. Think about that, people watching this webinar. 50 towers would need to be built to house the workforce. 50. We don't build 50 a year. But that's what we need. Now, given not everybody's going to want to live walking distance, some people will commute. But even if 1/10, you'd need 5 towers in the area, 5 new towers, which we don't have. We're building 2. Okay. Now, if you look at it in some comparisons to other major projects, it's 2 times the acreage of Hudson Yards, the most significant development in the United States, 4 times the square footage of the Yale at Bathurst in front, 3 times the commercial space on the One World Trade Center, and 7 times the square footage of the Eaton Center. Now, everybody's been to the Eaton Center. Imagine 7 Eaton Centers. That's what we're building, okay? We have more about East Harbor. LeftBank, it's a beautiful building, cutting edge design, fantastic reason to invest there is East Harbor. And that's really what you want to do. When you buy a project and you invest your money, you want to make sure that you have renters accessible and be close to transit. And that checks the 2 fundamental most important boxes. And again, it's going to be about $150 per square foot average. Cheaper and less expensive than Wellesley. So if Wellesley's too expensive and it's not for everybody, it is an expensive piece of real estate based on location, think of East Harbor as an alternative. Now we're going to get into something totally different and deviate from the usual investment scheme we have where Toronto's the center of the universe. And we're going to talk about Modo condos in Burlington. Now, when people tell me, if I can't afford Toronto proper, should I move out to the suburbs? And my answer is most definitely. Because the most important time and the prime time to invest in a pre-construction project is today as opposed to tomorrow, because all prices will increase. But what you want to do is when you invest outside the core, you want to be close to a goal line so that people don't have to drive in and out, given that they're coming to the city, okay? Or that you're close to other job opportunities there. And Bowmanville is one such place that answers all the questions, checks all the boxes. So what we have here is a project that's launching in a couple weeks. It's a smaller project, okay? And it is located on Clarington Boulevard in downtown Bowmanville. And it is a very short distance to the GO station, which will get you to and through in and out very quickly. And this is a nice rendering of what the building will look like. It's 2 smaller towers connected by a common podium level. And basically it is a nice design, smaller town, simpler pace, lower density, larger units, okay? So our 1-beds will be, or if they're 450 in the city, they'll be over 500 there. But the most important here is to look at the stats, and I'm not going to really get into stats, but Bowmanville has been growing very, very quicker and at a faster pace than the rest of us. And so is the Durham region in general. So this means that there's a prime opportunity to invest and make some money there. Because where you want to go is where the people are moving to. And that's the reason why Toronto's done so well, was immigration. So although we may not be getting immigration with people coming from overseas, we're seeing migration coming from in the city and moving out. And that's what you want to capitalize on. Marianne, the video with Jason Lamb, VP of Sales and Marketing, is in our mail out and our brochure for Wellesley. So register at info@firstaccess.com for Wellesley, and we'll get that out to your team later today. So talking back about Bowmanville, here are some beautiful renderings. Okay, we have a gym, we have a common room, we have an outdoor area, and we have the lobby. This is showing the amenity floors and where they're going to be located, the gym, party rooms, etc. One second. And there are some great numbers here. We're close to 3 major highways, okay? Toronto's only 55 minutes away. Prince Edward County, the other way, is 1 hour and a half. Scarborough's 35 minutes away. And when I say Toronto, that's downtown. So if you want to basically drive to Wellesley, it's going to take you 55, and that's because of traffic. But Scarborough's only 35 minutes away. So if you think about that, if you work in the east end of our city, your dollar can go so much farther. And I'm going to end this with telling you the price per square foot here. And it is half of the other projects, okay? For a 35-minute drive, you can let your money make a lot more return for you. The problem is, because prices have become expensive in the city and they're not cheap, a lot of people can't get in. So when I come back to that point where, do I buy outside the city? Most definitely, get in now. If you can only afford Bowmanville, buy Bowmanville today, and the money you make in 5 years, buy in the city then, okay? You always want to diversify your portfolio, and now we're seeing suburban investments to be a really good idea. So back to timelines. Vaughan is only an hour, just under an hour away. Markham's 43 minutes. Whitby's 20 minutes away. Oshawa's 20 minutes away. Mississauga's an hour. It's not as far as one would think, okay? And if you look at some times here on the left, it is actually not that bad. Now, here's some growth trends, and I'm not going to get into this because I don't want to keep you guys too long. And I also want to talk about my favorite master plan community after this as well. But look at this in your own. And again, how do you get this information? You email us, info@firstaccesscondos.com, and we get back to everybody. We've increased the team. We're fully stocked with support. Anything you need, we'll take care of you. One of the reasons our clients love us so much is they say, we can't believe how quickly you get back to us. Well, we have a lot of people behind the scenes ensuring that all your questions are answered, okay? So let's get to the most important thing. There's a lot of employment opportunities in the area for those that don't want to come to Toronto or drive 30 minutes to Scarborough, okay? So we're gonna go, some renderings here are beautiful. Features and finish are gonna be top shelf, okay? This is a map of Bowmanville, and it shows all the development by happening. The builder here is the Caitlin Group, and the Caitlin Group is basically building all of Bowmanville. So they have decided to be the people transforming this town or small city into a new investment opportunity and basically revitalizing the area, and they're doing a phenomenal job. So look at this. The approximate PSF for this project is $700 per square foot. More than half the units in the low 500s or less, including parking. You can get in here, and it's only 15% down until occupancy, with the final 5 at occupancy, which is probably going to be late 2023. You can get in with 15%. You can get in with prices we saw 5 years ago in Toronto. So you can mow. The vast majority of you that are on the fence and think you can't afford something, this is a project that you should be able to afford, and this is going to help you get into the market. Now, here's our contact details. Well, I'm going to talk about one last project, and I always end most of my presentations talking about Galleria on the Park. Galleria is my favorite master plan community ever in the city of Toronto. I said it, ever. And I'm going to be hard pressed to find something better, that's designed better, in better geographic location, and will be executed as well as the Elad developer, Elad. They are an international developer that specializes in master plan communities, and they are building this project, and they are fantastic. It is 8 towers over, 6 towers over 8 acres, an additional 12 acres of parkland, a 90,000 square foot community center, which is already which going to be under construction. Okay. Each residential tower has 2 floors of retail on the base. Okay. So what happens is it's really a mini city. And that's why people go into condo living. You don't really want to have a condo and have to drive everywhere. The problem is when you buy in a single tower, you don't have the stores and the shopping. So you actually have to commute. This has everything there, walking distance. So the need for a car has been completely eliminated. It's a 4-minute bus ride to Dufferin and Bloor Station. Then you take the Bloor subway 2 stops west to Dundas, hop on the UP Express, and you're down at Union 28 minutes door to door in rush hour. You can't get there that fast driving, okay? And you can be finishing up on work. You can even catch a nap if you want when you're riding transit. So it's really, really efficient. We are selling Tower 3 now. Tower 1 and 2 are already under construction. Tower 3 still has some great units, fantastic deposit structure. Price per square foot is in the high 11s, hovering around 1,200. So the PSF is great. This area, it will be booming. We're going to have 3,000 units here. Dufferin and Bloor in a couple years, probably next year. They're going to have another 3,000 units coming to market in another project. This area is ripe for investment. Remember, get in first. That's why we're called First Access. I am going to conclude today's seminar. Let me see if there's any questions. The vast majority of construction pre-con projects require a pre-approval. Contact me. I can assist you in explaining about those. I also work with other realtors. Yes, I do. The vast majority of us do. Again, it's preferable that we put our own clients, but I do help other realtors. It's kind of my role at my brokerage right at home. Okay. If nobody has any email address, info@firstaccesscondos.com. It is here. It is on the screen under email address. Our website, www.firstaccesscondos.com. My name, Costas Kivelos, founder of First Access Condos. pre-construction mentor, real estate investor, and proud father. Hopefully you enjoyed today. Tune in February 28th. I got to do my own plug. Sunday on CHCH, 10 a.m., Condo Investing with Costas. We will give you insider information like no one else, and you will be better than your realtor on deciding where to invest your money. Have a great day. It was a pleasure speaking to everybody. And if you have any questions, call me. Thank you.